Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Talking Movies with D, and that's me. Today I'm reviewing a film called The Photograph, which is a perfect film to review today because it's Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there, and it's a great movie for that night, or for a date, whichever way you do it. It's directed by Stella Meggy, which I'm not familiar with her work. She had done some television and a few films, none of which I've seen. But it stars Issa Rae and Lakeith Stanfield, two people who I love and have been doing a lot of great stuff recently. Basically, the story starts with Lakeith Stanfield. He's a writer. He gets a story and a picture to follow this story. It leads him to Issa Rae, and they have a obvious attraction, and we follow their story while also exploring Issa Rae's mother's past. And let's get to the negatives. So, starting off, The Photograph. I don't think the title made sense for marketing purpose. It made sense in the story. I would call it The Letter personally, but it made sense for the story. But for marketing purposes, it's a forgettable name, and you don't really say, "Oh, The Photograph. This is that Issa Rae and Lakeith Stanfield love story." It just doesn't make sense for me. But anyway, for the film, I would say the first thing that's a big negative for me is the beginning starts off pretty slow. And so it just takes a little while to get there. I think part of the reason, which is another one of my negatives, is the jumping back and forth. We go from New Orleans in the 80s to present a lot, especially in the first act. And that made it hard to really connect with the characters because we're going back and forth and we're following these two stories pretty strongly. And this kind of leads into my positive, but it's also a negative. We didn't spend enough time in in the beginning on both stories because they did such a good job in both stories that I didn't like leaving them in the first half of the film. It was like, crap, I want to keep going on this story, and then they jump to the other one. It's like, okay, now I want to keep going on this story, which is kind of a positive and a negative when you think about it because when you're invested in both stories, they're doing it. That means they're doing something right. Um, the first positive I'll go to is this is more personal for me because it takes place in New Orleans partly. It's in New York and New Orleans. When they're in the past, they're in New Orleans for most of the movie or most of that time. And it's in the 80s. So it's very nostalgic for me because I'm from New Orleans. I sort of miss home a lot. And this movie made me miss it even more. And then the music in that time, it just brings you back into that 80s mode, the type of music that, our parents used to listen to and stuff like that. And the next thing I would say a positive, and this is probably the best part for me, is you feel like you're a fly on the wall watching their life, and it's very intimate, and that's a great thing to have in a romantic type movie because seeing that intimacy, it's not like you're watching a movie; it's like you're watching some people. Some people live their life, and that's a great thing. Another positive I would say is, and I think the most important is Lakeith Stanfield and Issa Rae's chemistry. Without that, this film doesn't really work because it is a love story, and we're following them, so we want to be able to understand and think that these two people can be attracted to each other and really work in a relationship and fall in love. And that definitely is completely there through the whole film. You definitely feel it. You feel the tension. You feel them both wanting each other. And that's what you want in this type of film. Especially, I mean, it's a romantic film. You definitely want them wanting each other. Another positive thing I would say is while it's not a romantic comedy, it definitely has a couple of laughs put in there. They're not forced as in jokes because Lil Rel's in there and he definitely delivers some really good laughs. But they're not in there as like, oh, I'm about to throw a joke in there now. It's more of natural life and what this person would say to their brother or to this girl who he's meeting that his brother's girlfriend, like in these situations. And we've all been in relationships where our family's meeting our significant other or somebody we're dating, and those awkward conversations and stuff like that, relationship advice and whatnot. But that is what I think about this movie. I really enjoyed it. It's a perfect movie for a date night or a Valentine's Day night. Whether you're single or you're with somebody, it's good either way. If you're single, hey, it gives us some hope, right? And if you're taken, then hey, it just shows like, yeah, our love is similar or whatnot. You can do a lot of different things with this. But that's my thoughts on this movie. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube. If you saw this movie, I would love to hear your thoughts. And make sure you like, subscribe, and comment and share this video. That's all I got for you guys today. Deuces, and I'm out.